I'm going to speak to a little bit about a particular view I get of Nick for a long time now. But I'll start with the fact that we met in January 2005.
When the world learned that Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban had separated after 19 years of marriage, the shock was immediate and immense. For nearly 2 decades, they had seemed like the rare Hollywood couple that could survive everything: fame, distance, addiction, and the constant scrutiny of the public eye. But behind the dazzling red carpets and loving anniversary posts, their marriage had been quietly cracking for years. What began as one of Hollywood's most romantic love stories had turned into a slow, painful unraveling that neither of them could stop. It all started in January 2005 at a Hollywood event meant to celebrate Australian talent. Keith Urban, already a rising country music star, spotted Nicole Kidman across the room. She was radiant, still healing from her divorce from Tom Cruise, and for Urban, it was as if time stopped. He later described how he carried her phone number around for over a week before finding the courage to call her. That hesitation revealed something that would later haunt their marriage: his insecurity, the sense that she was too good for him, that he was the lucky one. Kidman, drawn to his warmth and humility, saw something different: a man who wasn't intimidated by her success, who made her laugh and treated her like a person instead of a movie star. Their relationship blossomed quickly. By June 2006, they were married in a candlelit ceremony in Sydney, surrounded by friends, family, and the Australian stars who cheered them on. Keith serenaded her with "Making Memories of Us," a promise that seemed to seal their love in eternity. But just 4 months into the marriage, that fairy tale was tested. Urban's battle with addiction, which he had managed to keep at bay, came roaring back. He entered rehab, admitting years later that he had done nothing about his addictions before marriage and that they had blown his life to pieces. Nicole, instead of walking away, staged an intervention and stood by him. She became his anchor, his savior, his reminder that love could be stronger than self-destruction. For nearly 19 years after that, Keith Urban stayed sober, crediting Kidman's love for saving him. But that early imbalance, the dynamic of savior and saved, never fully disappeared. Over time, it became a shadow that followed them, shaping how they loved and how they fought. As their careers grew, so did the distance between them. Nicole's acting commitments took her around the world, while Keith's touring schedule kept him on the road for months at a time. They tried to make it work with late-night phone calls and FaceTime sessions, but love lived through a screen can only stretch so far before it starts to fray. By the time their daughters, Sunday Rose and Faith Margaret, arrived, the couple seemed to have found balance again. They appeared arm in arm at award shows and premieres, smiling like two people who had conquered the impossible. Yet, behind those smiles, cracks were quietly deepening. Their time apart became longer, their communication more strained. Nicole's work grew increasingly demanding and emotionally draining. Her roles became more daring, more intimate, culminating in films that included explicit scenes that reportedly made Keith uncomfortable. In 2024, during a radio interview, he abruptly hung up when asked about those scenes, an awkward public moment that hinted at deeper private tension. By early 2025, they were living increasingly separate lives. Nicole was filming in London, renting a mansion while Keith was touring across the United States. The emotional distance mirrored the physical one. When he bought a separate residence in Nashville, it became clear that this wasn't just about logistics. He had begun to separate not just their living arrangements, but their lives. Those close to the couple say Nicole was blindsided. She had spent years fighting for their marriage, believing they could overcome anything. But Keith had reached a point where he couldn't keep pretending. Friends described their final confrontation as devastating. It wasn't a shouting match. It was exhaustion made real. Two people who had loved each other deeply, now too tired to keep holding on. Their separation wasn't messy in the traditional Hollywood sense. There were no affairs, no public accusations. Instead, it was the slow erosion of intimacy. They had become strangers living parallel lives, each chasing their passions but losing sight of each other along the way. Nicole had always spoken about balance, about the need to nurture both her art and her marriage, but over time, the scales tipped too far. She poured herself into her work, perhaps as a way to make sense of everything she couldn't control at home. Then, as if the universe wanted to test her strength even further, Nicole's mother passed away in 2024. Her final words to her daughter, "Take care of yourself, Nikki," echoed in Nicole's mind. But how could she take care of herself while her marriage was collapsing? How could she heal when the man she had once saved now seemed unwilling to save what they had built? By the summer of 2025, the signs were there for anyone paying attention. Nicole's Instagram posts showed her spending time with her daughters, but noticeably excluded Keith. Her anniversary tribute went unanswered. Their last public appearance together, at a soccer match in Nashville, looked affectionate on the surface. But body language experts later pointed out the subtle tension, the distance in their eyes. The separation hit fans hard. Social media lit up with reactions, some furious at Keith for walking away, others heartbroken for Nicole. The public had romanticized them as proof that love could endure fame, addiction, and time. Their breakup felt like the death of that hope. But what few realized was that this wasn't about scandal. It was about two people growing into different versions of themselves, and realizing that love, no matter how deep, can't always bridge the gap between who you were and who you've become. The financial and emotional stakes are enormous. Together, they own multiple properties across the globe, worth over $50 million. But beyond the wealth is the history, the family dinners, the Christmas mornings, the music and laughter that once filled those homes. Dividing that isn't just legal paperwork, it's cutting through a life they built together. As of now, no divorce papers have been filed. Those close to the couple say Nicole still hopes for reconciliation, while Keith seems to have accepted that it's over. That imbalance, one partner holding on while the other lets go, is what makes their story so heartbreaking. It's not anger that ends it, it's weariness, it's silence, it's love stretched past its breaking point. The parallels to her first marriage to Tom Cruise are hard to ignore. Then, too, she was blindsided. Then, too, she thought love would be enough. And yet, from that heartbreak came a new beginning, a new love, a new life. Perhaps this ending will bring her the same opportunity to rediscover herself, not as someone's wife or someone's savior, but as Nicole Kidman, mother, artist, and woman finally learning to take care of herself. For Keith, this separation might be a reckoning of a different kind. He's been sober for almost 2 decades, and this may be the first time he's had to face deep emotional pain without numbing it. His next album may reveal how he processes this loss, the kind of heartbreak that doesn't come from relapse or chaos, but from choosing to walk away from something that once saved you. Their love story may be ending, but it doesn't erase what they built. They will always share their daughters, their memories, and the years they spent choosing each other over and over again. That doesn't disappear. It simply transforms. In a world obsessed with happy endings, their story reminds us that sometimes love isn't about forever. Sometimes it's about who we become because of it. And maybe that's the real legacy of Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban. Not the fairy tale, but the truth beneath it. That even the strongest bonds can break. That even the most beautiful love can fade. But from that fading comes wisdom, self-discovery, and the reminder that, in the end, we all have to find the courage to take care of ourselves.